Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, inflation once again showing how it's hurting the economy, with top retailers reporting lower earnings because of higher costs. And for consumers, more pain at the pump as gas prices keep rising to new highs. We'll talk to our CBN News financial editor, Drew Parkhill. President Joe Biden taking action to ease the baby formula crisis, but it could be weeks until more formula arrives on store shelves. We'll explain what parents need to know to keep their children safe during this shortage and what churches are doing to help. Plus, the crisis on the southern border is about to get much worse as the Biden administration is lifting a key health regulation that had been used to keep illegal immigrants out of the country.
Title 42 is a common sense policy put in place by the Trump administration to control the spread of COVID. They're going to create an entirely different set of rules for illegal immigrants.
The move comes as the Border Patrol is pleading for more manpower and technology. And the White House is focusing on the threat from white supremacy and domestic terrorism. But one expert warns the danger from Islamic terrorism is still very real.
The Biden administration, like the Obama administration, continues to deny that Jihad terrorism even exists.
We'll hear why he believes America needs to take this threat more seriously. All those stories and more are ahead from CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin with the number one issues on Americans' minds in this election year: inflation and the economy. Back on the front burner after the stock market suffered a devastating day Wednesday following a disappointing earnings report from some of the top retail chains in the country. And as gas prices keep rising, once again hitting new highs today. Here's CBN's George Thomas.
Retailers led the declines across the stock market Wednesday, with Target being the worst performer in the S&P 500, dropping 24% after the company said that its costs for shipping were higher than expected and had hurt its earnings.
Even though they had more sales, people are going to the stores more. The costs for Target are really increasing very fast.
Shopping giant Walmart sounded similar alarm bells earlier in the week when it reported that its profits had fallen 25% from a year ago.
They are also having trouble with their profits because of inflation that they are feeling. They're making much less money, way less money, like worse than Wall Street thought.
All this taking a toll on markets Wednesday, the Dow plunging more than 1,100 points in its biggest one-day drop since 2020. The S&P 500 lost 4%, and the Nasdaq hit even worse, falling nearly 5%. Inflation is hitting everyday people as well, with prices at the pump still rising. The cost of a gallon of regular now at another all-time high today, nearly $4.59. And it's over $4 a gallon in every state. In Philadelphia, gas prices crossing the $5 mark in multiple locations.
Everything's just getting too high. Food, gas, everything. It's hard for you to make a living and go to work.
Experts say this summer could drive gas prices much higher, with increased demand as consumers hit the road. The increased cost of living, leaving many wondering how they can afford the things they need.
Listen, Americans feel this. This is what real life looks like when they're trying to figure out how I'm going to buy groceries and all the different effects that they're actually feeling.
Americans now blaming President Biden and war in Ukraine for the rising costs. 40% of those polled in a new survey from Morning Consult and Politico said the president's policies were responsible for the high inflation.
Right now, we've got an administration whose plan is to blame anybody but them and their policies.
George Thomas, CBN News.
And CBN News financial editor Drew Parkhill joins us now with more on this. So in the story, George pointed out voters are blaming the president for high inflation. Are they correct to point the blame there?
Yes. Now, we would have had inflation anyway. I mean, there's the supply chain crisis and high demand coming out of the lockdowns and so forth. But when the president and the Democrats in Congress passed this $1.9 trillion bill last year, they were warned by Democratic economists, leading Democratic economists, this would lead to the highest inflation in a generation. That's exactly what we've gotten. We would have had some inflation anyway, but we have the highest inflation around the world, and it's because of that Democratic spending. So they took something that would have been a problem and made it a lot worse.
The Federal Reserve says it's going to keep raising interest rates to fight inflation. How high do you think the rates have to go?
They got a real problem. because Ephraim, everybody talks about the Fed being behind the curve, meaning they're slow to act. Well, if inflation's running 8% now and interest rates are only at 3%, well, in order to stop inflation, you want to get interest rates above where the rate of inflation is. That means inflation or interest rates would have to go up above 8%. That's a long ways from where we are. Now, the hope is that inflation will come down. We'll see about that. But the Fed may have to put some real pain into the economy, and they know that.
Stocks took a big hit yesterday. Is there more pain to come?
Yes, I don't think we've seen the bottom yet. I think this is going to take a while. It's hard to really say how bad it could be. It could, we could see the Dow go down another, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 points, for instance. It could go, I expect it to go under 30,000, and I've been expecting that. We're getting close to that now. So I don't think the worst is over yet.
Real quick, are Democrats going to feel political pain from the inflation come midterm elections?
Okay, so we've talked about businesses feeling the pain. We've talked about consumers feeling the pain. We've talked about the stock market feeling the pain. Right now, if the elections were held today, Democrats would get wiped out, and their own internal polling shows this, that they're in very, very bad shape. So it depends on how the redistricting battle goes in the House, and that hasn't been settled yet. But we could be looking at the Democrats losing anywhere from 25 seats to over 60, and they could lose the Senate as well. So that would be pretty much the end of President Biden's agenda, and overspending for sure. But yeah, they're in very bad shape, or the Republicans are in very good shape, depending on how you look at it. But inflation's the number one issue because it means your standard of living is going down because prices are going up.
Absolutely true. Parkhill, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated as always. I want to turn now to the crisis over the shortage of baby formula. President Biden has invoked the Defense Production Act to speed production of infant formula, and he's authorized flights to import supplies from overseas. That move comes as he is facing mounting political pressure over a domestic shortage caused by the closure of the country's largest formula manufacturing plant over safety concerns. Still, it could be weeks before more formula begins hitting grocery store shelves, and millions of parents are struggling to give their babies the nutrition they need. Medical reporter Lori Johnson shows us what parents need to know to keep their children safe during this shortage and what churches are doing to help as well.
Millions of parents are feeling stressed out, angry, and in some cases panicked as they try to find their baby's formula. Colorado mom Ashley Lane, like so many parents, was shocked to discover she might not be able to perform the most basic need, feeding her child.
There was nothing left on the entire shelf. I took a picture and sent it home, and I was like, thank goodness we have a couple cans left.
Her family got busy searching for more.
My sister picked me up some in Arvada yesterday, my dad up in Thornton the other day.
Not everyone has that kind of support, which is where the church can make a difference.
So one of the big questions that we asked ourselves years ago was, if we ever shut our doors as a church, would anybody in the community miss us? And that is really what drives us on a daily basis.
Virginia's Fairfax Church Resource Center regularly provides infant formula and other necessities to needy families. One supplier even had extra baby formula, which the church is giving to anyone else who needs it.
In a time like this where there's a shortage and we have access to the resources, we just want to be a part of solving that problem.
As parents try to solve the situation, health experts warn against taking desperate measures.
Parents should not try to make their own baby formula. It's a very complicated proposition, and you'll only do harm to your child. Similarly, you shouldn't dilute baby formula, same types of issues.
And exercise extreme caution when turning to the internet.
There are unscrupulous people online right now selling baby formula. Maybe it's the real thing, maybe it's not, maybe it's expired, maybe it's counterfeit, and they're price gouging. And my feeling about price gougers is they should be hung up by their thumbs.
Meanwhile, breast milk is in high demand.
Sometimes it does feel like all I do is breastfeed.
Kendall Lane answers the call as a way to serve God. In addition to feeding her own baby, she pumps more of her breast milk and gives it to friends.
You know, in the Bible, it says, to whom much is given, much is required. And so I have been so blessed to be able to provide more than enough. And so I just feel like God has placed it on my heart to be able to help moms in this time specifically.
Kindle also donates to one of the dozens of Himbana banks, Human Milk Bank Association of North America.
Milk banks, we not only screen donors in many different ways, we also analyze, pasteurize, and culture the milk in a microbiology lab, reducing the risk of transmission of disease.
That's why using a certified Himbana milk bank is important when trying to find this nourishment for your child.
Now, in the informally shared arena or sales of the black market per se of human milk sales, you do risk contamination, transmission of viral disease. You also risk exposure to contaminants, such as medications that mothers are taking that they assume are safe for lactation, and they are not.
Parents should consider checking with their pediatrician before accepting an unknown source of breast milk or switching to a different type of infant formula. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
The Department of Homeland Security has put its controversial new Disinformation Governance Board on hold after criticism from conservatives and civil liberties groups. Homeland Security said the board was supposed to help prevent the spread of disinformation, but Republicans blasted the new group, warning it could become a way for government to censor speech it didn't like by calling it disinformation. The board's controversial executive director, Nina Jackowitz, has resigned. Conservatives argued she had shown clear bias in the past. The board will be reviewed by an advisory council that's expected to make recommendations in 75 days. Coming up, the Border Patrol is getting ready for a new surge of illegal crossings at the southern border, and that's coming after the month of April already marked an historic high for migrant encounters. We're going to take a look at the crisis along the border, and it is expected to get much worse. We'll show you why when we come back. The Border Patrol is bracing for a new surge of illegal crossings at the southern border. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas toured Texas's Rio Grande Valley Tuesday. As critics charge, the Biden administration is about to make the crisis worse. CBN's Tara Mergener has the story.
April was a historic high with 234,000 migrant encounters along the southern border, the most in agency history, and a 114% increase over this time last year. DHS Secretary Mayorkas is visiting the border as the administration prepares for a new surge. Last month, nearly 97,000 illegal crossers were expelled under Title 42, a Trump-era pandemic policy that President Biden hopes to end next week. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the administration's effort, but is expected to issue a ruling in the coming days. A number of states are suing, arguing the administration isn't following proper procedure in ending the policy, and that Border Patrol will be overrun without it.
That does not mean that the border is open beginning on May 23rd. We continue to enforce the laws of this country, the preparation of which began in September of last year. We knew very well that the CDC's Title 42 authority would not be around forever.
However, Mayorkas has admitted that ending Title 42 would only make the situation on the border worse. The health order has been issued more than 1.8 million times to keep migrants from entering this country.
Title 42 is a common sense policy put in place by the Trump administration to control the spread of COVID. They're going to create an entirely different set of rules for illegal immigrants.
As they prepare for a surge, Mayorkas says the U.S. is ramping up personnel, efficiency, and enforcement. Border Patrol has been pleading for more manpower and technology. Agents are especially concerned because illegal traffic has now shifted from primarily family units to single adults, most who are being sent via buses and planes to cities across the U.S. and will likely never face a judge. Meanwhile, new polling shows 58% of Americans disapprove of the way Biden is handling the border crisis. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Still ahead, an expert is warning America can't overlook the danger from radical Islamic terrorism. We're going to hear why he says it is still an ongoing threat. We've got that story for you right after this. In Buffalo, just 2 days after a racist rampage at the Tops grocery store massacre, President Biden warned white supremacy is a poison running through America's body politically. The president and some top intelligence officials say white supremacist terror poses the biggest domestic threat to the country at this time. Appearing on this week's episode of The Global Lane, Jihad Watch director Robert Spencer explains why he totally disagrees with that perspective, saying America must deal with another ongoing terrorist threat.
They have been claiming ever since Biden took office that white supremacists form the greatest terror threat in the country. But what they haven't had to back up what they've claimed is white supremacist terrorism. And so this Buffalo shooting, as horrific as it is also tremendously politically useful for the Biden administration because it actually gives them some real terrorism to point to. Before this, there just hasn't been white supremacist terrorism in the United States. And it was very clear that what they meant was the January 6th Capitol riot. And what they were trying to do was actually demonize all supporters of President Trump, ultimately, as white supremacist terrorists. The reality is that there are ongoing jihad terror plots in the United States. There have been 40,000 plus jihad terror attacks around the world since 9/11. That dwarfs any other terror threat. But the Biden administration, like the Obama administration, continues to deny that jihad terrorism even exists. And so we have them being doubly at war with reality. In the first place, exaggerating a threat that is in reality quite small and completely ignoring a threat that is ongoing and rising.
I'm looking for some specific examples here.
Well, the white supremacists, it's tough to find. Of course, many things have been classified as white supremacist attacks that were not, including the shooting up the murder of 49 people by an Islamic State ISIS terrorist at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. That was actually classified by the United States government as a white supremacist attack until it was called attention to, and they erased it from the white supremacist list. But they're so desperate to find white supremacist attacks that they have played fast and loose with the facts in that way. The reality is that the shooter at the Pulse nightclub only explained that he was doing what he was doing because of his allegiance to ISIS and because he was protesting against American troops. There have been other attacks in the United States, Boston, Chattanooga, San Bernardino, many others, a lot of them that we don't even hear.
And Robert, many Americans believe the open southern border has allowed Islamic terrorists to enter the U.S. undetected. Several recent Freedom of Information Act requests have shown that as many as 42 migrants on the FBI terror database were actually caught crossing into the U.S. in the past 16 months. So Project Veritas documented that. So how porous is our southern border? How great is that threat?
The southern border is essentially a fictional line on a piece of paper right now. Anybody can come in. Jihad terrorists around the world know this. The 42 who are listed from the terror database who were caught at the border are just the ones we know about. We have to understand that there were others who were not caught. That at any time in any group, the number of people who are caught is only a smaller percentage of the number of people who made the attempt. And so there is just no doubt whatsoever that there are jihad terrorists in the United States right now who have crossed over from the southern border. Many more are coming. There are also the Afghan refugees. And the administration has admitted that the vast number of the tens of thousands of Afghan refugees who are now in the United States were not vetted. And even the vetting is just on the basis of criminal and terrorist databases that go by names. There was a brisk business in Kabul toward the end of the American presence there in fake identification. And so it's very easy to not show up on those lists. Those lists are necessarily incomplete. And so we also don't know how many Afghan jihad terrorists may be in the country right now.
And your new book, It's the Critical Qur'an. It's a new English transliteration of the Islamic holy book, explained through historical research, key Islamic commentaries. Tell us a little bit about it. Why did you write it?
The Critical Qur'an is a new translation that is clear. And I wrote it because a lot of the older translations actually try to cover up rather than reveal what the Quran really says, particularly when it comes to the passages that are used to justify violence and terrorism. So in this translation, they're completely clear. There's also commentary, because anybody who's ever spoken with Muslims will know they always say, well, you're taking that out of context, or that's not how we understand it. So this one shows the context, and it shows how mainstream Islamic commentators have understood the various passages. So the Critical Qur'an is a book that actually explains fully why there is so much Islamic terrorism, why there's so much violence in the Islamic world, as well as misogyny and so much else.
Okay, I always urge Christians to be prayed up before they read the Quran. Robert Spencer, director of Jihad Watch, author of the new book, The Critical Qur'an. Thanks for setting us straight today. We appreciate you, Robert.
Thank you. Always good to talk to you.
Also on the Global Lane this evening, former federal prosecutor John O'Connor provides some startling insights about Russiagate and the Durham investigation. We'll also raise the question, will the Russian prisoner exchange return WNBA star Brittany Griner home to the United States? You can see those stories and more on the Global Lane. It begins tonight at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. You can also see it on the CBN News app. We'll be back with you Thursday Thankful right after this. Welcome back. Time now for your Thursday Thankful. I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. God, thank you for being God. Your character is unlike man. You give more, you forgive more, and you love more. And I certainly need more than I thought I ever would. With that prayer, I hope you'll make this a day filled with gratitude. A thankful Thursday from start to finish. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. In fact, you can find them there at any time as well as online, cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at the address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. We look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.